Evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome our in-person audience as well as our virtual audience to the 10th meeting of the County Council Redistricting Commission. As is typically our case, I'm going to ask that our members identify themselves and which district they're representing, and we'll start with our virtual members and Dr. Davis.
Good evening, Michelle Davis, District 1.
Isabel Castro, District 2.
I'm Eric Rockwell, District 3, and the chairman of the commission.
Cordell Grant, District 4.
John Delano, District 5.
Albert Harris, District 6.
Edward Kramer, District 7.
All right, thank you all. And the first order of business tonight is to approve the minutes from the May 7th meeting. You all received them by email, and there's a copy on our desk for those in attendance in person.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes, therefore, are accepted. Now we want to get on to a discussion of the public input and feedback from our two in-person meetings, the first occurring on the 12th in Middle River and the second occurring in Randallstown just a couple days ago. I'll start off with some remarks. I was impressed by a good turnout at both of the meetings. In terms of the Middle River meeting, I guess the major feedback that I got from many of the speakers was that those that live in the Perry Hall area didn't want to see their community divided into more than one district. With regard to the second meeting on the 19th, we heard a lot of support from persons either supporting the Woodlawn C maps and also many others who just testified that they wanted to see a 315 map. In addition to that, I've noticed that we've gotten a lot of feedback in the last week and a half from people of the Lutherville, Timonium, Cockeysville area. To date, I've counted 228 letters as of today from people saying they did not want to be split into two districts in the Lutherville, Timonium, Cockeysville area. So that's quite sizable. It's probably neck and neck with the number of written comments we've gotten from people in Catonsville. Those were my major impressions from the two public meetings. I next turn it over to whoever would like to give their impressions. Go ahead, Cordell.
It's talking you, and I'll wait.
Would you like to go, Dr. Davis?
Yeah, thank you. I'll be very quick. I just want to add to what Shinroko said, because I too have been reading all of the emails, and it's very time consuming. Some are very, some are exact to the point, and definitely appreciate all of the rationale and the reasoning that constituents have provided based on why and their reasons for requesting that the Lutherville Timonium corridor not be blended with Towson, as well as there were a few in there that were from the Catonsville area as well. But the one thing that I noticed that I felt was very interesting, and even though I did not attend the May 12th meeting as I was sick, is that several constituents said that they did not agree with the Woodlawn Map C. So I wanted to call that out because inadvertently on this Monday, there were several constituents in person and at the Randallstown Center that said that they did vote or they did want to align or thought that the Woodlawn C map would be the best map, in addition to the high number of constituents that were looking for 315 approach that I believe aligns with some of the presentations from the ACLU maps. But the other thing that I wanted to call out from Monday's meeting was that there were people who stated, not as many as the 315 or Woodlawn C approach, but there were people who did state that they appreciated the commission or our work as a commission, and understanding that they felt that we were listening, as the first map iteration compared to the second one showed that there was consideration for some of the thoughts and the voices that came forth by way of testimonies from the written method, as well as that virtual meeting we had. I believe it was at the end of April. So I just wanted to kind of call all of that out as well, because I feel like we do have, well, I shouldn't say I feel like, it's not what I feel, it's factual. We've heard enough about, not enough, but we've heard a lot of information from a lot of different constituents for a lot of different reasons. So I think that where we are and what we have, and that which I'm hopeful that we will consider working on, aligns to give consideration to a lot of that information that was combined and shared across each of the meetings, versus just saying we'll look at this particular map and we'll take it from there. So that's what I wanted to add. And I also strongly believe that we do need to push efforts to help bring Catonsville back to a whole state. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I share similar sentiments in terms of, you know, the appreciation of all of the constituents and organizations coming out and truly showing their support, and really letting democracy run the way it needs to run. From the public hearings, there was a large amount of passion that I seen displayed, and I think that is what we knew. I believe that that's what, you know, I sort of was expecting, because this is such an important role. It's going to play such an important role in individuals' lives. I think overall, what I did take away from both public hearings, though, was there was a lot of support for the Woodlawn approach, but there also was opposition to the Woodlawn approach. I think that our initial public hearing in Perry Hall, I believe that we saw a large amount of constituents come out in support of Woodlawn, but also I did see individuals truly wanting to make sure that equity and fairness was at the forefront of what we are doing. And so I think those passions were very, very prevalent then. I think when it came to the West Side's hearing, I saw a split. I saw a split between the 315 map, and I saw a split of support of the 315 map, and a split support between that and the Woodlawn approach. And I believe that with the Woodlawn approach, a lot of the West Side constituents are wanting to ensure, again, that a Catonsville district is whole and is not split or cracked. Similarly with a District 2 on the West Side, as well as District 3, and also ensuring that those numbers are going to be constitutionally valid. I believe that, you know, overall, everyone has the same intent, which is to make sure that this map is right, to make sure this map is fair. And it is our is our job and our goal to ensure that and make sure that happens. So similar to all of my other colleagues, I have reviewed countless countless documents, countless letters, spoken with so many different people and organizations in support of varying maps. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was noted, that at what I think at this point that there's a split between the Woodlawn and the 315.
Lisa, do you want to offer any observations?
No, I'm going to listen today. Thank you, though.
Okay.
I just know in the White Marsh area, Perry Hall area, those folks all want to stay together, been inundated with letters and phone calls. And as you know, Eric, as you said, we got a lot of emails from those areas. And even down in the Middle River area about not splitting communities down the middle. And take in all the other information. I'm relying on the folks on the west side to give guidance, you know, with, especially with the Catonsville. I know we got a lot of emails from that area also.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can add, I was trying to review my notes. I apologize. I literally just left work. But the one thing, and I know Commissioner Grant just leaned into this, we heard the word equity and fairness and continuity and wholeness and communities. And we also heard a lot of dialogue. I don't know if it was rhetoric or whatever the case, but there was a lot of conversation in Monday's meeting about hacking. I'm not as familiar with the background. I recently learned the concept and what it really means. So I know that we really should give consideration to and the way that we are relooking at these maps to ensure that we are definitely aligned with the law and that which dictates a lot of this process. And we also heard people, I can say at least 3 people that I heard on Monday, and I was very appreciative of it in that we want to regard all of the information and process and chew on it and consume it and try to apply it and, you know, go back and rework and relook. But the fact that the county voted, I don't know, upwards of some percent. I think, Adam, you told me, but I don't know. So I apologize if I'm stating the wrong. I think it was 60%. I don't know, maybe Adam or Tom mentioned it, but the county voted for this to happen, right? Which is why we're here. And so while the goal is to, again, consume and process and take in all of this information, I don't think that we should look at this by way of somebody's not going to be happy or everybody's not going to be happy. I think that we turn the mindset to say, this is an opportunity because moving from 7 to 9 districts, obviously, as we have seen and experienced, it's no easy feat. However, some of the commentary from Monday, which I greatly appreciated, was that even in the equity and the fairness and all of the other terms that stuck out to me as like the repeated buzzwords, is that there are opportunities if we come to the place where there may be a crossing of council men or women trying to support and represent areas that are bordering one another, because that means more resources potentially. And I just wanted to call that out because Monday's meeting really shifted my mindset after I reviewed my notes to say, this doesn't have to be a bad thing. Understanding the situation about communities that would be split, some of the misunderstandings that came about where people think that this redistricting is, I guess, attached to what's happening with the school redistricting. But again, I don't think that it's a bad thing. And I do believe changing a mindset to the potential and the opportunity wherever this will happen. And it may not look like that which people are happy with, but we still have to consider the resource factor that I think is a positive, in addition to the fact that, again, the councilman could shoot this down anyway and take their own actions on their views on a map. And the last thing I will say is that for those that were not there were conversations that did come up from several constituents about the potential of a lawsuit. So while there are a lot of different things that we are facing, I just wanted to kind of bring those back to the forefront, because our constituents are very clear, very aware, and seemingly very prepared to take whatever actions they deem necessary for equity and equality by way of these maps. Thank you.
I'd turn to Mr. Harris. Do you have any thoughts on either or both meetings?
My thoughts on both meetings were the simple fact that we had the constituents to actually speak and voice their concerns. I was kind of concerned about our first public meeting over in the eastern section, only because things got a little bit out of hand. And I was glad that we were able to keep that under control by the second meeting, because as we stated, each one of our constituents, they're going to have their own opinion. No matter where we go or what we say, some will be happy, some will not. Just as Dr. Michelle just said, we're not trying to please anyone at this present time. We're trying to understand what the total council, Baltimore County, will look like with 11 districts. I'm a 9. I said 11 because I still have Ms. Dorsey's committee on my mind. But with the 9 districts, so just keep in mind that we're still working to make sure that we, as a council, as a commission, come up with the best of the 9 districts for Baltimore County.
I'd like to ask the staff a question regarding the information in our redistricting manual. We have population data, and I thought that data, well, that's part of the question. Is that data just from 2020, or does it reflect any updates from American Cities surveys of 22? And the reason I ask that is because we heard from some of the testimony some figures that gave the Black population in the county about 0.6% higher number than what our manual indicates it is. So I'd like some clarification on that.
So that's a really interesting issue. That is actually something that's been a little bit long-standing, since the 21 redistricting cycle. So to answer the first part of your question, the data that you have in the redistricting app that you are using is the 2020 census data. That is the only set of government population data that gets down to the minuscule level of census blocks. Other products put out by the Census Bureau, they are put out on a regular schedule, and there have been some since the 2020 census. The problem is that they well, there's two problems. One, they are collected differently. The American Community Survey uses statistical modeling as well as surveys, whereas the census does a literal head count and hires tens of thousands of people every decennial year to go door to door. And the second one is that those other products do not get down to the census block level. So, they typically report population changes at the tract level. And to give you a sense, in Baltimore County, there's something like 9,000 census blocks, but only a few hundred tracts, or I think there's less than 100 tracts in the county. So it's, you know, think about it like a pixel, and, you know, it's one is going to like 4K versus, you know, like the old CRT TVs. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part actually has to do with the conflict between the different data sets that the ACLU specifically has been putting forth and what we are mandated by state law to use. By state law, we must use the adjusted census data from Maryland, from the Maryland Department of Planning. That data, it essentially, they take the raw census data set and add back in the incarcerated persons from state and federal prisons to their last known address. In Maryland, yeah.
In Baltimore County.
In Baltimore County. One of the differences between what Maryland planning reports and what the raw census reports has to do with the mixed race or two or more race category. The Maryland data just has one category. It's called two or more races, period. That's it. Anybody who checked more than one race on their census form or checked Hispanic and a race, because Hispanic is treated as an ethnicity, and therefore you can be Hispanic and white, Hispanic and black. All of those folks are combined into that two or more race category. The raw census gives the full universe of answers. If you want to know how many people in a particular census block checked white, black, and Hispanic, the raw census data can give that to you. If you want to know how many people checked, Asian, Pacific Islander, white, black, and Hispanic, there's not many, but you can get that from the raw data. So that's the big difference between these two. What the ACLU is doing is they're using a particular software called Maptitude that has a special combination category called Any Part Black. And what that is doing is taking that raw census data, it's adding anyone who selected black and nothing else, anyone who selected black and another race, black and two races, black and three races, and so on. So it's combining anybody who selected black in combination or just. That's how they come up. That's how they come up with a number of any part black that is larger than the number of black population that we are seeing. Again, at this point, I want to emphasize, we have to use the Maryland adjusted data. Speaking personally, I think it's a bit of a legislative or maybe a policy oversight that the Maryland Department of Planning does not report in the same way, in the exact same method, but that is not something we can control. So that's pretty much the explanation of what the difference is. The reason why this is important, and let me back up one more second. This is a longstanding issue because in the 2020 redistricting litigation, all of the ACLU's numbers were using any part black. And in some parts of the court's analysis, they adopted that any part black analysis. And look, I don't want to give it short shrift. The idea of any part black does have roots in the historical census taking. There was ideas of, and this is dark history, but the one drop rule, which should stay very much in the past, but it's the idea that if there's one drop of black blood, that person is counted as black. But there's, more recently, in the modern times, there's also been some guidance from the federal government, specifically the Office of Management and Budget, which oversees the Census Bureau, that says, and this is from the 2000s, in districts where the mixed race population of a certain mixture rises to, say, 1 or 3%, it's permissible, in a Voting Rights Act case to to include that mixed race category with your, race alone category. There's also some 2024 Department of Justice guidance. Now, this is a little different because that guidance is specifically talking about where the Department of Justice might be looking at a lawsuit for a jurisdiction on voting rights. But still, it's something. And part of their guidance is if there is a local rule that says there's an adjusted population, the Department of Justice, when doing an analysis, should use that adjusted data. Just to be totally exhaustive, at the very beginning of the setup of our redistricting app, we had a choice: go with the raw census data or go with the adjusted data. The raw data had the ability to do to do the same function as Maptitude with the any part black analysis. They even had already loaded up and the OMB analysis that I talked about, where if it rises to a certain level, you can include it. But when I went back and I reviewed the state law, and it seems pretty clear to me that we have to use that. I think there may be some limited argument to say that maybe you don't have to use that in VRA analysis, maybe you just have to use it for apportionment, but there's nothing in state law that says that. There's nothing in the legislative record that says that. So my, small c conservative, legal analysis says when there's nothing saying to the contrary, we have to do what the letter of the law says. And if the General Assembly would like to fix that, that's their prerogative.
Cordell, I noticed you had your hand up before.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
just to be
Yeah, go ahead.
Clear, we're not on an island with this. We're not just Baltimore County saying this is what the state law is. We're doing it the way other jurisdictions throughout the state as well.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that, providing that clarity. Because I talking about using any part black, a part of the census, understandably so, if it's under the state law and it's required. However, I have questions in regards to its effect. And I want to just make sure, when using it and implying it, I have a question whether or not will it dilute or misrepresent individuals, and does that dilute that individual's voting power? Meaning, if a person is part black, 1% rule, right? And let's say they may not identify with black communities, but on the census it says X. Does the combination of all of these part black, does that then dilute the power of the black community or demographic of Baltimore County?
Is that are you, just to be clear, are you posing that to us?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if we can, I don't really think there's a good answer, because, you know, these are still people who live there.
Correct. But because of the fact that it does have such a dark history and it has been used to necessarily manipulate. Now, I'm not saying anybody here is moving forward in bad faith. I'm just trying to get clarity on the understanding of uses of particular demographics, because if we're using these in these maps and we are going to base our decisions based on these demographics, then it would be substantive. And so I want to make sure that we're not going to be misrepresenting communities and populations based off of a dark rule. No pun intended.
So I think what you're getting at is kind of the fuzzy point in between the political performance of a district and its racial makeup.
Correct. Because wouldn't, in the sorry to cut you off, wouldn't that change the racial makeup though? If in fact a person is saying, hey, 1% rule, or no black at all. And I guess that's similar with other ethnicities that are other demographics that have multiple ethnicities.
So generally speaking, the group that is mixed race or two or more races, you know, that response to the census is one of the fastest growing demographics in the country in general. Mm-hmm. So but I want to be clear that the racial makeup, you know, it's more about the political performance, and I'm not sure that there's really a good answer to the question you're posing.
Right, and that's my thought, because I'm thinking about it even on the state level, even on the federal level, because is there any constitutional or federal constitutional provisions that highlight the part black? And listen, I'm black, so I understand what the African-American makeup is of the country, but making sure that we're not, and I don't want to kind of dwell in this space, I just want to get clarity on this part black space, because if we're using it for our numbers, then that matters.
So I did want to clean up one aspect, which is that in terms of the data set that we have, when we're talking about majority black districts, there's just not a way to actually accurately include people who checked black and something else. But I want to be very clear, the two or more race category is included in a BIPOC district, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, BIPOC, the idea is that, you know, people who are two or more races or not white, you know, if they are a cohesive community, vote the same, you know, then, you know, it looks the same then from a voting power perspective as a block of, you know, black only voters.
But from a VRA analysis, Cordell, it's for Baltimore County and for the operative race, we're talking about people who identify as black, and they are what we are considering for Voting Rights Act purposes. However, as Adam said, BIPOC has a role, and that would include people who may identify as black in another race or other ethnicities and races that are non-white. That may have a role because, as he said, if you can demonstrate cohesion and crossover voting, that BIPOC can function similarly as a majority black district if it's constituted right.
Okay, then I have a follow-up. And sorry, thank you for that. Thank you both for that. Again, I'm just asking for clarity so I can make sure that so if a person is part black and we're counting them as a black citizen of the county, but also part of another minority, majority of BIPOC demographic, are they going to be considered for both of those, or is it just going to the black? Or is it just going to, let's say, for this instant, Asian or Hispanic?
Right. We can't double count in a sense. We can't, for the purposes of this exercise, of what we're doing here, if you identify as black, then that is again part of the Voting Rights Act analysis. If you identify, but it's also part of a BIPOC if there are not enough people in a district to create a majority black district, because then if you become part of that BIPOC district, and that BIPOC district will be people that are black, people, again, that are 2 or more races, that are non-white, or 3 or more, or however many non-white, which includes black. And so it will, but you won't double count those for that purpose.
And it wouldn't pull from other districts either.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to appreciate you all.
Maybe I'm not hearing it right, or maybe I'm overhearing. But what I hear is that we're speaking about a racial makeup as opposed to a political makeup. Is that true?
Well, for what we were talking about just, for the last 15 minutes, yes, we're talking about racial makeup. Yeah. If we, I think in the agenda in a little while, if we go into closed session for us to give you more hard legal advice about this, we'll get into it more.
Okay, are there any other thoughts about the meetings or the emails we received from the public? No? So hearing none, we are going to now, good segue, move into the closed part of the meeting. So we will be, we'll stay here and we'll ask the public. We'll go in the back.
Right. So, Mr. Chairman, if the commission wishes to receive legal advice from your staff, what would have to happen is you go into a closed meeting. There needs to be a motion. The Open Meetings Act requires that during this open part of the meeting that a motion be made to close the meeting, and the reason for the closure is one of the enumerated factors to close a meeting, one of which is to receive advice of counsel. And if that is what you are seeking, then a motion would need to be made to close the meeting to seek legal advice from counsel. And if there's a second and a affirmative vote, we would go into closed session. Once we're done in closed session, we would come back here and basically reopen the meeting and then continue with the agenda.
Okay. All right. Well, I will move that we go into closed session in order to receive legal advice on the Voting Rights Act compliance.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I actually have to take a roll on this one.
Okay.
Roll call?
Yes. Mr. Rockel,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Dolina,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Belcastro. Okay.
Okay. With that, we will
So we will go to the
go to the library, and we ask for your indulgence for this time period. Thank you.
Okay, we are back from closed session, and just for the record, we closed the meeting at 6:43, and we are reconvening, and it is now, what time is it? 8:18.
Mr. Chairman, is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
I move that we open the meeting and end the closed session.
Second.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Rockel,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Dolina,
Aye.
Mr. Kramer,
Aye.
Mr. Grant, Ms. Belcastro,
Aye.
Dr. Davis.
Aye.
All right, you're back.
Okay. Do any of the members want to put any final thoughts in before we move to the next issue, which is a discussion of future meetings? Okay, hearing none, let's move to discussion of future meetings. Now, John, I've forgotten, to be honest with you, when is sort of your cutoff before you go on vacation?
Okay, I'm going to be gone. I'm committed out of the country May 30th through June 9th.
The June 9th?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we've already got on the calendar that we'll have a meeting next Wednesday. I think we need to come prepared with some thoughts on getting closer to a final map with concrete examples. I know Ed's working on a map that he'd like to present at the next meeting. I'm going to be working on something that I'd like to present at the next meeting as well. How many days in the first week of June does the group feel that we need to get together? And I've got to.
Wednesday the 4th of July.
Okay. Bear with me a second while I get my calendar out for June.
June 4th is bad for you?
So that's out. Okay, that first week of June, which runs from the 2nd through, let's say, the 5th, are there either the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 5th good days for the other commission members?
The third.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. So it's either the 3rd or the 5th.
I'm okay with the 5th.
April 3rd.
John will be away, but it's good for you. Any 3rd or 5th are both good for me. So how about the virtual commission members? Can you do the 3rd?
I can, but I will be away, so I'll have to be virtual again.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm okay on the 5th though.
How about the 3rd, Tuesday, the 3rd?
I'm sorry, are you speaking to what? Virtual members?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't hear me. So the 3rd, it's gonna be tough for me. I'll probably be there virtually. But I'm okay with the 5th in person.
Okay with what?
He was okay with the 5th in person, could probably do virtual on the 3rd.
Okay.
The same is true for me. Virtual the 3rd, in person on the 5th.
Either is fine with me, but everything will be virtual for me.
Okay.
I'm mentally going across in my mind. I think I can make the 5th.
Okay, since we can get more in person on the 5th, let's go with the 5th. We're certainly talking one, maybe two. So the 9th through the 12th. The last thing I want to do is approve a map on June, Friday the 13th, okay?
Come on. I didn't realize that.
Let's see. We're gonna meet Thursday. Is every commission member amenable either virtually or in person to meet on Monday, the 9th?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Can you do it, Al?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, so. Okay, so again, just to restate, in June, our meetings will be Thursday, the 5th, and Monday, the 9th. And hopefully, we won't have to meet any other days in person on the week of the 9th. But time will tell. Okay, moving along, any closing remarks that any of the members want to make?
I'd like to say, want to thank Tom, Adam for going over the information with us to help us out, and also the attorney that was involved. So do appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just want to thank the constituents that are here in person and on virtual for attending. Thank you.
Yeah, you're real troopers staying around, so thank you. All right, if there's no final remarks, I'm going to move that we adjourn. Need a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.